All right. So here we are for the first episode of the Provider's Path podcast. Yep, that's the name. Sticking with it. I like it. It's pretty fitting considering everything that I plan on talking about. Because, at the end of the day, we're all providers. So it's kind of like my path, your path, her path, their path, everybody's path, right? And today, and in this episode, I really wanted to start off with some mental health stuff. I think they kind of really kick off what we're going with everything. And this is more or less just my story. It's not about being perfect. It's just being real. This is kind of where I started, kind of how I got here, the struggles I kind of went through, and really how I was able to get in a good place to sit here and have this conversation. Because honestly, if you would have asked me to do something like this years ago, I'd have told you to fuck off. So yeah, we'll just get started. So, probably all the way up through my 20s, I kind of just lived. I just kind of did shit. There was no real, I didn't really have any kind of give a shit about, what I was doing. Joined the army. That was fun. That was cool. Met some cool dudes there. And you heard, or at least I did, I heard a lot of stuff about, PTSD and, mental health stuff. And, you hear about all these things, but you don't really think about it until you kind of get into the mix. When I was in the army, that was really my first, get out, do some real life shit. When I got out, shortly after, I had my kids. I had two boys. And quickly realized that, I didn't have anything figured out, especially when my second was born, because I didn't even have a job. I got out, I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything. I was working at Oakley for like $10 an hour. I was making dog shit money. And I decided that I wanted to try to be a police officer. So, you know what? They make okay money at the time. But it's a career, it's something that I could hang my hat on and say, my kids could look back and be like, my dad was a cop, though. That's cool as fuck. So yeah, I started that. I worked down in Killeen, Texas. That's where I started. They gave me my shot, my break into the career field. And I had an awesome time down there. That city is very unforgiving. And that kind of really started everything. Shout out to the PMA squad boys, though, and girls. Y'all are the fucking best, the realest of the real. But to give you guys an idea of what it was like working there, and honestly, it's probably what it still is there now. If not, it's probably ramped up pretty much because I follow a lot of the stuff that's going on down there. But and it was nothing to come in, get on shift, and have 20 or 30 calls pending. And not like thefts or frauds or anything. We're talking like violent domestics with weapons or robberies or, just ag assaults, like crazy stuff that's just like waiting for you to respond to get there, because it's shift change or something. And in my time there, you know, before this job, I never really was exposed to the chaos that I was about to walk into. I don't think anybody that decides to become a police officer there, big cities like Dallas, Fort Worth, like you're just not ready to see what you're about to see until you see it. You don't know how you're going to react until you react and you're there. It's just, it is what it is. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. If you've never been there, you've never fucking done it, you have no idea what you're going to do, what your body's going to do, and what your mind is going to do when it sees, one of the worst things you've ever seen in your life. So I did that I was there for several years. Saw everything from, you know, dead children, dead people, terrible accidents, me and the guys from my squad, we got ambushed by a guy across the street and ended up getting in this crazy shootout. I mean, no one prepares you for those types of things. You hear about it, and they tell you about it. And I remember something that one of my instructors, it was Officer Lopez, retired OG, what he told us. He said, guys, we want to get you guys ready because it's not if you guys get into a shooting, it's when you do. And I never forgot that. It was kind of one of those things that just like stuck with me. Like of all the shit that we learned, like that was like one of the one things that I remember taking. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. And sure as shit, not even like 2.5 years in, and there we are, all of us like, just like, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy. He was right. And, the way that we react tells you a lot, it tells you about yourself and stuff. And, fortunate for us, everybody came out good. We got the bad guy, everything. And I look at my partners and stuff that were involved in that, and I was like, fuck, like, dude, I'd go to war with all these dudes. Like, everybody showed up and did what they were supposed to do. And in the moment, you're like, fuck, dude, like, we just need to make it out alive at this point because we don't know what's going on. That's a story for a different time. But I say that because your body, because like I said, we're talking about mental health. Your body goes through insane amounts of stress in situations like that. You're running code, lights and sirens. You're running code to, a kid that's not breathing, or a kid that's fallen in the pool and now he's like unconscious, or somebody that's been shot or stabbed, or somebody's breaking into somebody's house, and the person that's on the phone is like, they're in my house, I'm hiding in my, my closet, I don't know what to do. And you're going, you kick your fucking lights on, you're like, get in the Crown Vic. I was in a Crown Vic. That thing's a fucking spaceship. You get in that thing, you turn on your lights, and you just fucking go, ludicrous speed. You're just hauling ass. Well, your adrenaline goes through the roof. You go, and your adrenaline's going, and you're talking like it's kicking for like a solid 15, 20 minutes, if not longer. Like, it's just going. And then when the excitement of everything, when everything calms down, it starts to taper off, right? Well, bam, here comes the next call, and it's something else that's chaotic. Hey, there's blood all over this, I don't know, a barber shop. True story. It looks like somebody got stolen out of a barber shop. What? We get there, sure as shit, same thing, another adrenaline spike. If you can imagine doing that 7 to 10 days out of the week, 10 hours a night for years, and, God bless you guys that are still there, because, man, I know that shit's not easy. But your fucking adrenaline just goes up, and it stays. You get to a point where it stays there. And your normal levels here, well, you get so used to being here that your body's like, hey, I need it. Well, when you're feeding it all the time and you're feeding it for years, it never comes down, and you never stabilize. You never hit that normal level that you're supposed to be at. And it fries you. Like, physically, it fries you, especially as a man. Well, fast forward several years, I end up in my next agency, and it's not as busy. We're not getting crazy stuff. I'm not getting, sent to 1,000 calls a night. The slowdown was real. I mean, I remember when I first started, I was so used to listening to the radio, and the radio just constantly just going off, tones going off. I just remember it was all the time. It was always something happening on the radio. I get to my next agency, and it's, I'm working nights, and you don't hear shit. You won't hear shit for like an hour. And I would radio check, like, hey, is like my shit working? Like, hey, like, radio check, like, can y'all hear me? Like, is my shit on? I used to do that constantly because I was so not used to it. And it was such a change, such a tempo change too, that it took me a good year and some change to really get used to it. It was hard. It was a hard transition. Well, I say that because when you're used to going, you know, getting these spikes of adrenaline all the time, all the time, all the time, well, I'm used to being here all the time. This is my normal now. Well, when I moved, it would come and it would spike really hard, and then I wouldn't get to run lights and sirens to anything for a day, you know. And I'm like, oh, this fucking sucks. And you know, your adrenaline dumps and your body just tanks until you get it again, and then it goes up, and it's just not the same anymore. So you start chasing that adrenaline. You want it, but it just doesn't hit the same. And I'd probably say right around that after COVID-ish, when you had all the riots and all that crazy shit that was happening, when everybody hated police and stuff, and everyone was kind of like, on edge, is really when I personally started noticing a big change in myself, in like personality. I was super angry. I hated being at work. I would wake up sometimes to come into work and I'd just be fucking pissed for no reason. I'm just like, God, what the fuck? Just angry. Didn't like being around coworkers. Hell, they would be like, hey, good morning. And I'd be like, oh, fuck off. Like, I don't even want to, like, what are you talking to me for? Like that's who I was. I was awful. I was an absolute disaster. And but the crazy thing was, and maybe I'm just a little bit more self-aware, but I'd be sitting in my truck or my car and I'm just like, damn, dude, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why are you being like that? It's like I couldn't shake it. I could not shake the assholeness of who I was. Like, I just couldn't. It was just, I felt like, is that just me now? Am I just a douchebag? Like, like what the fuck? And I was like, no, this can't be it, man. This like literally, this cannot be it. And it was at the point I was sitting in a parking lot. I'll never forget it. I was sitting in the parking lot one night. I was at a bus barn because I didn't want to do shit. And I was sitting in the back and I was typing up my resignation letter. Literally typing it up. I was like, you know what? Fucking done with this job. I don't want to do this shit anymore. I was just having a temper tantrum. And I stopped and I sat back for a second and I was like, man, what am I doing? Like, do I really want to be done with this job? Like, do I really want to like give this up? Like, nah, I don't. So I closed it. And at the time, my department was working with this nonprofit. Can't remember the name of it. For the Love, I think, maybe. I can't remember. I'll put it in the description when I find it. But we were working with a nonprofit at the time, and I had actually sent the lady an email because they had actually come in and talked to us not too long prior to that, because we had a pretty crazy incident that had happened where it was like a murder. It was just chaos. And they had come in and talked to us. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, you have somebody that actually comes in and like make sure like you guys are good after some crazy shit. Like, that's wild. I was like, I remember getting in a shooting and just got like 3 days off because it was my normal days off. Like, it was wild. It was different. It was a different time. But I sent them an email. I was like, hey, this is who I am. This is where I met you. I remember talking to you, and these are the issues I'm having. Like, I'm fucking tired all the time. I'm pissed off all the time. I hate everybody. I hate my job. I want to quit. I'm typing my resignation letter right now. I want fucking Oreos and I don't have milk. All the shit. I was just a fucking disaster. And I was expecting, a response in a day or two, but they got back to me like that night. Like, before I even got off shift, I got an email back and they're like, hey dude, you need to fucking come in. Like, I hit up your people. They know you're coming. Like, just, you're coming here after you get some sleep. And I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. So I did. So I went over and I talked to these people. I talked to this lady, and I told her all this crazy stuff, that we did in Colleen and here, and just how I, what I was going through, and this, that, and another. And she's like, man, that's crazy. She's like, that's crazy. And then she's like, well, have you ever done anything for like your mental health? Have you ever talked to anybody? I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no. She's like, yo, you never had to talk to anybody for, this incident or this incident or this. I was like, no, I just fucking threw my clothes in the washer and got back at it. I was like, we didn't really have that opportunity. We didn't have the people for that. It was just too much crazy shit happening in the city for somebody to just take off. And she was just blown away. And I think that's when I kind of realized, like, oh, so that's not normal. Like, it's not a normal thing. Like, oh, okay, well, we did it anyways, and we made it out. We made it out alive. So, they did all their tests, blood tests and stuff. And what it ended up being was basically for me as a man, there's a bunch of dudes. And this is something that you guys can look into if you want to, especially if you're feeling a certain way. But it was my testosterone. That shit was like gone. I didn't have it. Like my body wasn't producing it. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, you never had anybody talk to you about this? I was like, no. I was like, I thought that's just shit that you use because you're trying to get swole or something, trying to make some gains in the gym. She's like, no, like that's no, like, yeah, you can. Like, that's a yes, but for you, no. For you, you needed to just be able to survive every day. I'm like, oh shit. Like, okay, well, tell me more. So she explained it to me. Your adrenaline, you get adrenaline spikes and stuff like that, but your body uses all these things in you to create that adrenaline spike. But in a male, like, you have to have the testosterone to make sure that your body levels out and stuff. And my body just wasn't doing that, which is why I felt like a fucking absolute degenerate all the time. And when she explained it all to me, I was like, oh my God. I was like, so like, am I turning into a chick or like what's going on? I was like, she's like, no. We just need to get you on like a therapies and stuff. I was like, all right, cool. So let's do it. Let's fucking do it. This is a kind of a funny story. It's kind of a tangent, but when I started these shots, mind you, I fucking hate. I don't want to give myself shots. I'll get tattoos all day long. Giving myself a shot that goes into my body is a whole different story. Okay, I don't like it. Well, testosterone is oil-based, so it is thicker. So you have to use a thicker gauge needle to draw it out of the vial, right? Me, not knowing what I'm doing whatsoever, I use this thick-ass needle. I take it out, and I'm looking at this needle. And it's thick. It's short, and it is thick. And I'm looking at this thing like, I got to put this fucking thing inside of me? Like how? And they had told me that the best place to do it, or one of the easier places to do it, in your thigh. And I shit you not, I pushed this fucking needle into my leg and I thought I was going to die. It hurt so bad. And then I'm pushing this shit in, and it hit like a nerve. I don't know, it hit a nerve or something, and my fucking leg kicks. So then naturally the needle moves. So like I'm sitting there freaking out, and I'm sweating profusely because I don't want to do this. And I remember I'm sitting on the floor of the bathroom, and I like push the needle, and I look like a fucking junkie, just a crackhead, just sitting there with this needle sticking out of my thigh. And I go to pull it out. Well, since it's so damn thick, I start bleeding everywhere. Nah. My first experience with it was terrible. This was the first time I did it. Mind you, I'm not fixed. I'm still an absolute just disaster. And I just shoved this big ass needle in my leg, and now I'm bleeding everywhere. And I'm like, I got to do this every week. Yeah, fuck that. Needless to say, I called them and I was like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I need something different because this is not working. And ended up doing some different things and stuff like that. So good now. But that's the tangent. So back to everything else. Got on the therapies and stuff like that. Finally got everything, good. And it probably took a good 6 months to get to a point where I was like, I felt great. I won't say it felt great, but I felt good. I woke up, I wasn't angry, I wasn't pissed off at everybody. I could show up to work and be like, man, I'm happy to be here today. A solid year for me to really get my creativity back. at heart, I'm a creative. I love making things, designing things on the computer, painting shit, and just coming up with new ideas. And for the longest time, I felt like I lost that. I was like, man, I felt like I lost that creative drive that I had. And honestly, that was depressing as fuck because I could make things. I just create things, I just have ideas. Like, I want to do this. I want to make a shirt. I want to make a hat. I don't know. I want to make this. It just looks cool. I just want to do it. And I didn't have that for the longest time. And it was something that I've always done, but it came back and I had clarity with it. And I was like, holy shit, like, I want to go make this. And what's nuts is like, I'd probably say after about a year and a half of kind of getting everything together, that's when I started a supplement company. I was able to go in, we created a label, created a whole formula for a pre-workout that I launched. The business itself failed because, I honestly just lost interest in it. But the creative side of that, to go in there and being able to create this business from the ground up and be semi-successful with it, was a huge feat for me, because I felt like I had lost that side of me. And when it came back, man, I was fucking stoked. I was like, yeah, it's back. And the other side of that too was, I had such a negative outlook on things for so long that it held me back in my career, because I didn't want to do certain things because I had such a just negative outlook on it. I look at all the bad things instead of looking at all the good things and what I could do to make things better. And I think for me, what really showed that everything that I was doing and everything that I had been working for and working on was working was when I tried out for the SWAT team at my last agency. You go through this day of just getting your ass kicked. It was rough. I'm not a spring chicken. I'm 30, at the time I was 37. I threw my back. It was crazy. It's an absolute shit show. I threw my back out once, tried to go through the tryout. 3 days after throwing my back out, I had to see a chiropractor just to be able to walk, and made it through the PT test, made it through other parts of it. And, I wasn't able to go through because I would have just destroyed myself, and I was extremely upset about that. But I came back healthy and ready to go. And when I'm sitting in the board, because, you're sitting there in front of your peers, you're sitting there in front of the team, answering questions and why you should be a member of this squad and be an operator with these dudes. And I knew that the questions went. I knew that the question was going to come, because my attitude for so long was so bad that I knew that people noticed. And it did, except I was ready for that question. Not because I rehearsed it, not because of, anything other than I was ready to answer that question and answer that question honestly. And they asked me, one specific guy asked me, he's like, hey man, one thing I noticed about you is, man, you're really hard to be around. You used to be really hard to be around. Hard to talk to, what has changed? What is it that makes you think that you could be a part of this team and contribute? And I was able to sit there and tell them, this is what I was going through. This is exactly what I was going through. I was able to recognize that, the person that I was being was not the person that I needed to be or wanted to be or who I actually was, and I had to put myself through a year, 2 years of fixing myself before I could come back here and give you this answer, And then the defining moment in this whole thing was that when I answered that question and I gave them my reason, like, this is why I'm here now and I can sit here and tell you this, they were all like, dude, we could see it. They're like, we could see it, man. You were fucking awful to be around for a long time. Like, we knew you wanted to be on the team and stuff, but nobody really wanted to have you. And like, you're kind of good that you never tried out, because we probably wouldn't have taken you because your attitude was awful. Like, you just sucked to be around. And I was like, yeah, I know. I fucking hated being around myself. And they were all like, but this last, however long years and change, they were like, dude, like, you're smiling more, you're happy, you're easier to be around, you're back to joking around and talking shit like you used to be, man. And honestly, man, it's been a joy to be around you, and we're glad that you're back. And I was just like, fuck, dude, like, it actually, like, I was like, man, this is awesome. Like, everything that I've been working on is finally like come to fruition. Like, it's fine, like it's noticeable, it's tangible. And yeah, it was awesome. So to say that, like, people say, oh, this shit don't work, this shit don't, no, it fucking works. It works if you want it to work. And I came across when I was, trying to come up with things to talk about today and stuff like that. I was flipping through Instagram, watching some videos and shit, and it was this morning, and dropped my phone in my face, which was awesome. But I was watching this dude. His name is Scotty K Fitness on Instagram. Funny dude. Love watching his videos and stuff. Great stuff. So if you get bored, he's a good dude to go follow. But he said, you make it exist, then you make it better. And man, that was probably some of the realest shit I've heard in a while. And when I look back at all these things, all this stuff, especially speaking about this, particular part of my life, you make it exist and you make it better. I made my issues exist. I brought them, I put them on the table, said, these are the problems. Like, these are the real tangible, these are things that are real. This shit exists. And I made it better. You continue to make it better, and you keep going. You just make it better. You when you think you get to a point where, man, I fixed it. No, you didn't. Find the problem. Make it exist. See what there is to fix. If you feel like it's fixed, then make that shit better. Fine tune it, because the people around you are going to notice those things. They're going to notice that you're trying to make an impact, whether it's your spouse, your kids, your coworkers, people at your job. If you're sucking, man, sometimes you just got to take a step back and say, man, like, what's the real problem here? Is it me? Do I hate my job? Like, are my kids just being assholes to me? Like, whatever it is, step back, say it to yourself, like, make it exist. You make it exist, and you make it better, right? And man, I'll probably never forget those words, but fuck. But yeah, it was a crazy time, and it's never too late to sit down and analyze the things that you're doing, and just try to make things better day by day. You're never going to fix everything overnight. I mean, let's be real. And life isn't like that. You might wake up one day and you might have a great day, and then the next day some stupid shit happens, or you got bills to pay. Stress is always going to be there. Life is always going to be there, but take it day by day, and you try to make one thing better. You're doing better than most people if you can make one thing better. So I'll leave you guys with that. Said by Scotty K Fitness. You make it exist, you make it better. And so we'll close on that. I will say though that I will be moving here pretty soon, so this is going to look a little different. Considering it's the first episode, I don't think it's really going to matter too much, but I'm moving, so I'm going to try to get that done, like, I don't fucking know, whenever I can. But yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you got anything from it, man, please let me know. Please give me the feedback. I could use it. Share it with your friends. If you thought it was a great message, share it with your friends, share it with people, do all the things. I'm not going to sit here and be like, subscribe, like. Guys, if you want to be here, you'll be here. I'm not going to sit here and pressure you. If you don't like it, cool. That's cool. Like, do your thing. All right. But yeah, you guys have a great night. Love you guys. Thank you for all the support so far. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.